Hey everybody, how's it going? We are here for the Misscliks Q&A. So, if you guys want me to answer some questions, you can tweet them at me at Koibu0, um, or you can post it in r/Misscliks, which is probably we should have set up a Q&A question thread in there. Hopefully it's not flooded with it yet. If you haven't posted in r Misscliks, don't do it yet. Okay. I'm going to make a post in our Misscliks called Q&A question thread. There we go. So you can either tweet it at me or link or post your question there, and I will do my best to answer them. Okay? I don't want to take questions out of chat. I want them like written down in some place that's not going to disappear. That way someone can do a write-up and the questions will be more easily accessible. Okay. So first question, on a scale of 1 to Pimpernel, how much were you hoping for the Lily Pimpernel story to end during the fight? I wasn't hoping for anything. I think what he's asking is how much was I hoping for Lily to die during the fight, and I wasn't really hoping for her to die. So yeah. How does it feel about being prom queen? Votes are still being tallied, guys. How do you feel about the less than serious way the campaign is going? Awesome. I love having lighthearted campaigns. They're so much fun. I'm sure it will get like serious moments and lighthearted moments and serious moments and lighthearted moments, but I do enjoy the funny parts of it. It's more fun that way. Holy crap, there's a ton of questions now. Does this occur in the same world as roleplay? And if so, will there ever be a crossover? Yes, it's in the same world, and no, there will never be a crossover. Why did you change the combat system for this campaign? We're doing a brand new system. The combat system has been really rough. I ran a bunch of tests and trials with beforehand, and it works pretty smoothly. But those were with like fairly experienced players. I think the issue with the combat system that we're having now is that the players and no one's familiar with it except for me. And in my head, it's perfect, but we're running into some problems. I think once we get the initiative displayed for everybody, it will make a little bit more sense. And I'm thinking about maybe inverting things rather than saying declare action, roll the initiative for that action, action resolves. We could do a do action, then roll cooldown initiative, kind of like warp gates in StarCraft. I'm going to consider these things. But I think this combat system is optimal, or more optimal than the roleplay combat system or the normal D&D combat system, because it allows you to be more dynamic in your class. You can be like a thief will use lots of fast weapons, they'll get lots of attacks in, but if you're using fast small weapons, you get a lot of attacks in, but they don't do that much damage, and also armor will reduce a lot of that damage. On the other hand, you could use a big slow weapon, which you don't get many attacks in, but it will cut right through armor, and then it deals a ton of damage more. So it gives you different approaches and avenues to things, but it's just a little clunky. And I think if we can get everyone up to the speed on it, it'll be better in the end than any other system ever created. And I think it's the best thing in the world. Question from Twitter: how hard was it to see that the figure? I think what you mean to say is how hard was it? How frustrating was it for you when they figured the map out so easily? It was super frustrating, but not really, because like I'm very proud of them for figuring that out. It was like, yes, kind of like one of those fatherly moments, like, oh, my daughters all figured out this puzzle I had for them, yay! But on the other hand, I was like, shit, was so busy this week, I didn't have time to write out that riddle, and I wasn't sure exactly how to do it, so that was a little awkward. But I think I winged the riddle pretty well. But it was a little frustrating. So Neal, do you think the Misscliks could use another combat class? Maybe. I think Faye is super fucking strong if she actually starts rolling well. She was rolling really poorly for initiative and for attacks, which is unfortunate because she's fucking buff. I mean, D6 plus 4. I know it's temporary damage, but D6 plus 4 is great. And with her high strength, it's fairly easy for her to critical. And Anna is a rogue, a thief. So if Anna starts like getting behind people and being a little bit more positional, then she'll do a lot more damage as well. This was just a really unfortunate combat situation for her. So I think that combat classes are pretty good. In fact, considering that this is going to be an aquatic campaign and there's not going to be many people running around with heavy armor, this is actually a very good combination. All bludgeoning damage is temporary damage, which means it goes away at the end of whatever period. So, I mean, if she bludgeons them to below -10, if you do temporary damage that would drop someone below -10 or below whatever their death marker is, they still die. But at the other time, Faye will like beat the shit out of someone, but the next day they're mostly fine. Unless they actually break bones or something. Where can I watch Misscliks episodes? You can watch them at youtube.com/user/Misscliks. That might not be up yet, but all the Misscliks VOD links are on the Reddit Misscliks. So reddit.com/r/Misscliks. What did you use to roll dice? I use dice to roll dice. I do that. They use Roll20. That's a program, online app, which is great. And to do the map, I made it in Photoshop. Have I ever played Riddle of Steel, and what's your opinion of that? It's not related to Misscliks, as far as I know, so I'm not answering. What was more unexpected, the long discussion of feelings or the pillow fight? Both were wildly unexpected, and I made some jokes to people in my chat who hang out here during other shows, because sometimes we talk secret stuff. Twitch.tv/LivinPink videos is where you can find all the videos. The pillow fight is hilarious, and I think if we keep going down that route, we will grab the entire male audience. I think we should get everyone together and roleplay out these moments, and we will make all the esports dollars in the world. But on a more serious note, I think it was hilarious, and both that and the long feelings discussion. I've never played a campaign that was predominantly girls. I've done 50-50 guy girl. I've done entirely guy. In fact, most of my campaigns have been entirely male. And this is weird. This is different. I don't know if it's because they're female or just because they're that sort of people, but this is different, and it's fun. Are the thief back attack changes buffs also in the Misscliks system? They were designed. The Misscliks system was designed around that way. The changes that you saw in the other campaign were kind of taken from Misscliks, the rule set that we use for Misscliks. Thieves are very different here. I'll post hopefully before next game, I'll actually post the rule set that we're using, or what I have of the rule set, and you guys can understand it. Refresh for more questions. Holy crap, now there's a ton of questions. Did you save them from all dying? Come on, they were totally dead in that fight. How did I save them all from dying? There's one guy remaining against the two of them. Faye was almost dead, but so was that guy. He was at 3 HP? 2 HP? 2 HP. Anna hadn't taken any damage. Anna had taken 1 damage, so she still had 6 life left. Faye is super buff. They weren't dead. There was one guy left. I did not save them from that fight, and I actually find it kind of degrading and insulting when people, imply that I would cheat to save the players. Why no for a crossover? They're separate campaigns. I don't want to get involved in any crossovers between them. Also, they take place in different time frames. It's one of those things that sounds super cool, but if you actually ever did it, it would be such a fucking nightmare. And then, what happens if we do a crossover and one party kills the other party? That'd be sucking. I mean, there's just so many reasons not to do it. It's never going to happen. Someone rolled a 1 during the fight and had to save versus death. What are you going to do if she had rolled another 1? Bad things would have happened. It was Steph that rolled the 1 for fighting and then saved or failed. If she had completely messed up, I would have said she'd gone for a left hook or something and hit the wall and did damage to herself by punching a stone wall. But she didn't, so thank God. Do you think this combat system has much appeal from a creative standpoint? I think it has more appeal from a creative standpoint if we can actually implement it right. This is we're still test driving the system, and I'm test driving it with one-shots. but I think in the end, this is a superior combat system. How well did Jade tie the knots? Decently well. 11 out of 20. That's how well she tied it. So, I mean, they can get free eventually, or someone will find them eventually, but, they're not. That's how well. Will there be ship-to-ship combat? And if so, how does that work? There will be ship-to-ship combat at some point. We'll just save how that works for later. Simple question, why pirate-themed? Because when we were talking about doing this, they said, oh, we could do pirate-themed, or we could do, like, space adventure-themed. And we chatted about it, and pirate-themed, just everyone wanted to do a pirate-themed game instead of space, adventure. So we did that. Where can I play tabletop games in my area? Go to your local game shop or comic book shop and ask them about RPG nights or tabletop nights or something. They should have you covered. If you make an attack and decide to change your attack when you're about to hit, do you lose the initial attack? Yeah, you would have to re-roll your initiative. Unless it's something minor like, with a crossbow changing from that person to that person. It's like, boop. It's one of those things that will work out. How do you think the cast has been doing so far as role-playing goes? Awesome. They all have extremely different characters that all have a lot of personality to them. I think they have the role-playing down much better than most people do at this point in time. Also, how well do you think your new D&D system is going? I think in theory it's great, but the application's not that great. We need to get the initiative table up, and I think we've all been so busy we haven't had time to do this, but I think we should all get together for half an hour one day where we can talk about the combat system and how the combat system works. That's kind of answers a few other questions. Was LivinPink given knowledge about the campaign to help along with others? The map was kind of weird. No one was giving. I mean, they have all their character background information, but I never said to Jen, hey Jen, here's how to help the rest of the party. That never went down. Can you please name a random person in the campaign after me? I'm not naming anybody A Smollett. I'm sorry. Will you give me Jen's phone number? Next question. How does it feel being prom queen? Awkward. I like being a guy. Guys are awesome. I like dating girls, but I like being a guy. I'd rather not be prom queen. How do you feel that sometimes, and I mean sometimes, chat is too distracting for your players? I don't know. Again, I don't ever look at chat because I'm too busy with stuff, so I don't actually know how often they look at chat. And how that specific player lineup came to be. We talked about classes, and we almost had 2 mages, but then we kind of worked it out, and people said this is what they wanted to do. Okay. I really like the show so far. Do you think their roles work well together? Yes. I think Eliana is a very interesting character with everything because okay. I think that she's like the dark character who is standing apart from everyone else, but she's still there, and I think that is an interesting dynamic to feel out in the future. Because it seems like at times she almost wants to be happy and fun with everyone else, but then she's like, no, not quite. So I think it's interesting. I'm happy how everyone is, and I like seeing how this plays out. I think that's all the questions in the Reddit thread. Yeah, and I think that's all the questions in Twitter. Let me just double check the Reddit thread this way. Uh-oh. Were you surprised when they found the hidden trapdoor with the barrels and small chests? Yes, they were not supposed to find. I mean, supposed to is kind of a weird statement. That was definitely not something they expected them to find at all. To clarify, if players sometimes seem too out of touch and are concerned something outside of the game, and by player lineup I meant player, not character lineup. The players, I only really knew Jen and Anna before this, and I only knew Jen well. Anna I only really know by reputation. So I think the players are pretty cool. I'm happy with all the players. I think they're great and it's fun out of game with them. So I don't know how to extend that any further. Players seem to be out of touch and concentrating on something outside of the game. If they are, I don't notice that. I haven't noticed them being too concentrated on anything out of the game. Do you think giving them less money in the beginning will give them a different outlook on how much money is worth in a world in comparison to the others where throwing out gold coins for minor information just for fun from the beginning? Currently, the reason they're all together is because they're broke and they're trying to find this treasure because they need it to get going with other shit. So setting them up as broke was kind of a plot hook to get them in. I think it will change their perceptions, but you know, how many hours of planning went into this session? I mean, do you mean hours of planning went into how many hours of planning did I put in between the last session and this session? Because that's a very different question than how many hours of planning was put into this session, because the content of this session was planned for slightly in the previous sessions, and then there's a whole bunch, like, it's a very complex way. Like, you can't just divide it up. It's not like I plan one day and then we finish that day and then I plan a day two. You plan a giant story arc, and so I think the question you're asking for is how many hours did I put into since last week, and then the answer is about 4. How do you feel about the campaign direction? Do you like the way the players are taking them? Yes. I think it's fun. I think they're getting a little distracted with in-game stuff, but they're very new, and other campaigns do the same thing, so I'm not worried about it. What are some things you learned from DMing roleplay that helped you so far with DMing Misscliks? I've been DMing for like 15 years, guys, so nothing from roleplay has really transferred. I mean, at this point, I've got it down pat, so I'm not worried. Have you felt that sometimes? Oh, we already said that. I really like the show so far. Blah blah blah. Is your campaign going to end up being more technically difficult, or player difficult? Like kill a dragon versus do we kill this morally ambivalent person with no unknown consequences? Neither. I think we'll see. 15 years, is that right? I'm 26? Maybe 15 years is too long. How old are you in 7th grade? 12? So I started when I was like 12 years old. So yeah, that's about 15 years because my birthday is about to come up. Yeah, so 15 years is right. Was LivinPink given knowledge about the campaign? No, we already answered that. We answered that. We answered that. Answered that. Answered that. Answered that. Answered that. Answered. 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 Excellent. Oh, new question over here. No, that's not a question. That's just someone saying thank you. Right now, it seems like the pirate campaign where they are fish out of water. Do you envision them getting proficiencies in swimming and seamanship, or focusing on stuff for their career? Yes, I do envision them learning how to use ships and stuff. But you must remember, back in the medieval times, most people didn't know how to swim. The reason like walking the plank was such a fearful thing is because no one knew how to fucking swim. Like, a lot of people didn't know. It was an uncommon thing even for sailors. So learning them all to swim, maybe. Learning how to like sail and navigate and stuff, yes. Do you feel awkward playing your NPCs against the players? Sometimes. Whenever I have to like bring in somebody flirting with my PCs or being like racist or sexist towards my PCs, I get really uncomfortable because I don't want to do those things, and it's difficult for me to break those barriers. So like earlier when they went to the arena and he was like, "Oh, you're a girl, you can't fight in the arena," like that made me feel really uncomfortable. But I think that's kind of something that does exist. I don't like. I want to create. I don't want the D&D world to be a perfect reflection of the real world, because then it's shitty to be a female. Because medieval times, being a woman fucking sucked. It was awful. So I want it to be better than that, but I still want to have some like, still have the misconceptions and like the racism and sex, like to some level. Like, you know, to bring out the grittiness of the world, you kind of need to have people kind of like, oh, women. And then you want these girls to like kick their ass, and then they're like, holy shit, women, wow. Yeah. So I do feel awkward, yes. Do you design encounters with the party composition and their capabilities in mind, or do you throw the world at it as you see it and see how they handle it? Oh, I'm like, hey, what would be really cool for a pirate themed something? Let's do this. Holy shit, they don't have a blah 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 in their party? They're gonna have a hard time with that. That's kind of how I do it. Do you sometimes have to wing it? Like if something happens that you're completely not expecting all the time, I wing it all the time. Who's your favorite role player so far? You can't ask me to pick my favorites, guys. It's like you like asking your parents, which one of your kids is the favorite? I can't ask me to pick my favorites. But if I really had to pick my favorite role player, it would be Anna or Jade. One of the two of them. I'm leaning towards Anna right now, but Jade is kind of sneaking up. Will we ever see Neal the player? I'd need a DM. So if there's a DM somewhere that's DMing a show, then sure. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Faye/Steph. That's Smile. Who is your favorite character/player and why? Well, I already gave you my favorite character. You can't legitimately ask me which one of them is my favorite person. I just met Steph and Jade, and you can't ask me to pick, publicly say who I like more. That's rude. I would never say such a thing. In fact, I love them all equally. Are you surprised or impressed with how well Anna is role-playing and playing in general? It seems like her actions are much more in character than others in Mrs. and roleplay. Yeah, I'm very impressed with Anna. She's got her shit down. Well done. Are the girls' swimming lessons ever going to amount to anything if they keep it up? Neal, do you know where the VODs will be other than on Twitch? If you didn't get to watch it, it will be on Twitch and then hopefully at some point on YouTube. The Twitch should be at LivinPink's Twitch. What is the plan and creating process for the world when it comes to the little things, i.e. trapdoors, hidden loot, overhearing secrets? I actually do a show every other Monday about that. It's called Behind the Screen. We just had our last episode yesterday, and I actually go through and like plan D&D campaigns for my live groups and like share it with chat. So just come watch that show every other Monday on my Twitch channel, and you'll get those answers. Neal will join DJ Wheat and JP's Star Wars campaign. I don't know anything about that. I have not been invited to play in that, so no. And that is all the questions that people have asked. I'll take a few questions out of chat, and then we're going to play some Final Fantasy VI. So, chat, give me some questions. Please watch any PAX intro from 2010. Oh yeah, I've seen some of the PAX intros where they play. That's fucking amazing. Neal, did you expect the party to act as chaotic and or evil as they have been? Have you had to adapt anything in the story because of them being so stabby? I haven't had to change the story at all. I have not expected them to be so chaotic or evil. They started out much nicer, but now they're kind of going into the evil side, and I don't know why. I asked something in Twitter. I'm not seeing it in Twitter. Do you Twitter it to @Koibu0? Here. Talking about you being a player, ImyJP is thinking about you being a player, which is doing a campaign. Oh, that doesn't help me. That's not a question. There's been no more questions at Twitter. Are you tweeting at Koibu0? Are you sure? Neal, boat. I don't know what that means. Is this campaign completely original? Completely original. Why do I call FF3 6? Because it's the 6th one in the series. FF3 was a completely different game for the NES. But that's not about this. I don't think there are any more questions about... Oh, have you ever given any unique weapons, armor items with nameless significant power while DMing? Of course. Definitely. Are you... No, I must... Okay, so there are no more questions. There are no more Misscliks questions. All right. Excellent. Thank you all for watching the Q&A. I'm going to kill the stream, and then after I get... No, I already have water. Great. I'm going to kill the stream and then bring it back up, and we're going to continue playing Final Fantasy VI. See you guys later.